the purpose. Entrepreneurship to me is that ability for any of those people in the world like that, whether it is in Mexico, whether it is in China, whether it is in India, it doesn't matter. It's the only pathway to wealth creation.
Absolutely. The only time that I ever regretted that was in 2008 when the economic downturn of real estate, the stocks, and the whole world just went upside down. I remember I was like, man, I need to get a job. And that, even saying that hurt my stomach. I was like, a job? I've never had a job in my life. I've always been a creator of jobs.
Right. It's an evolving journey because the landscape of entrepreneurship every day as you progress to the next stage changes.
Yes.
The market changes, the customer changes, the solutions change. So that's the beauty of entrepreneurship. It's an ever-evolving pathway.
It's Mauricio Mejia live on YouTube.
All right, welcome back. It's Mauricio Mejia live inside of Studio B here in the heart of Silicon Valley in downtown San Jose. And today we get the honors and pleasures of speaking with a author, speaker, entrepreneur. Actually, he's pegged himself as the firefighter of entrepreneurship. So I want to welcome Sanjeev Chitre to the show today. Welcome to the show. Thank you for taking the time. I know we've met in a very short period of time, but in a very short period of time, we got to become like we've known each other for a very long time. So.
Well, because we have tracks are parallel.
Okay.
You are a great entrepreneur by birth.
Thank you.
And you've shown that, and I admire that, and I am an entrepreneur by training,
There you go.
say. So our tracks are aligned. So thank you for the opportunity.
I do appreciate that, and thank you. For me, entrepreneurship, I'm always learning something new, and every day is something new comes out of everything. You know, it's just interesting. The journey. I was told by a mentor of mine, success, entrepreneurship is not a destination; it's a journey, and enjoy the journey while you're doing it, because.
Yeah, entrepreneurship is a learning journey all the time. Right? It's an evolving journey because the landscape of entrepreneurship every day as you progress to the next stage changes.
Yes.
The market changes, the customer changes, the solutions change. So that's the beauty of entrepreneurship. It's an ever-evolving pathway to success.
Change is inevitable. That's the way I look at it.
Yes.
I want to say, in again, short period of time that we met, we definitely clicked. There's a lot of things that, a lot of common things that we like. Both have written books. Your book's a little bit bigger, longer and thicker and more in depth, which I like, and I can
Maybe more bullshit.
Hey, you said it, not me. I think more details.
I'm just kidding.
But you've done 2 books.
Yes.
And I know that you also have dabbled in other different industries. But before we dive deep into that, I want the audience to get to know a little bit about who you are, where you come from, born and raised, and kind of your journey, right? We all have a story. We all want to share that story with others because somewhere along the line from when we were born to where we're at today, someone out there will relate to where we're at in that journey. I know that the times I'm speaking with other people, even when I spoke with you and we're talking about our journeys or our ups and downs in entrepreneurship, I can feel the successes and I can also feel the pains because I always tell people as well, in entrepreneurship, it's not always about the highs. There's lows too, and you learn from your lows to get back at your highs, and it's continuous. So before we dive deep, give us a little background on you, born and raised in family and upbringing, siblings, and kind of share with us. I mean, this is...
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
I want everyone to get to know who you are, Sanjeev.
No problem. Thank you for the opportunity. So my name is Sanjeev Chitre, and I was born in India at a sort of on a lower middle class family. My father was a steel worker, who at some point in time believed that he could create some business of his own. And so he did do that as we were going in the schools while my mother worked for the Bombay Municipal Corporation. We lived near Mumbai, in Mumbai. And so our means were minimal, but that was what life was. And India, as you know, has always been a very highly populated country,
Yeah.
influenced by the British as such, because they ruled us for 200 years. Right? So that influence of the British and the English stayed in the country. The country was got independence in 1947, in that area.
Wow.
And so it's a in a way
It's almost recent, but
yeah,
yet
somewhat recent,
yeah.
but a lot of population to switch over. It was a wealthy country. They say the British depleted. I wasn't there, but and then the country is rebuilding itself to the strength of India is the young population. The strength of India is the educated population. The strength of India is the parents giving the importance to the children's education. And so I was brought up as a school was the prime focus. Sports didn't really care in schools or anything. That was secondary. Of course, it's changing now, but
It's interesting to hear that because I see that in different cultures as well, right? In the Latino culture, but I also see that in the Asian culture, right? Schools very important,
right.
But it's pressed upon, right?
Yes,
And then,
it's totally brainwashed into you.
okay, yeah,
Because if you played for anything, it always said that's why you see today such a high level of education at every school's coming, of course, from Latino cultures, but I can speak about India. The reason you find such high penetration in corporate executives and stuff like that is because education was the prime focus on it, right? So in a way that helped, but in a way that sort of a disadvantage because we were not as rounded
Yeah.
as we should be to experience the life journey. But that you learn when you come to America. My daughter was exposed to 10 different things intentionally, purposefully, as compared to me, who was just exposed to the purpose and the focus of education.
Right.
So, anyways,
yeah. I can see that. I mean, being here in Silicon Valley, there's definitely a big Indian population that very focused in certain niches like engineering, high level executive positions as well, and makes you wonder, like what the upbringing was of that, right?
So it's a very interesting thing, Mauricio, because in India, people don't think of executive creation. They think about now you have business schools and everything like that. But when I was growing up, there wasn't too many schools where you could go to become executives. There were a lot of schools where you could, sort of become the technologist things. But this may be a different perception of life. But a part of the numbers being so high of people, the survival of the fittest
Yes,
becomes a necessity of life.
absolutely.
And so, even though you may have the technology background, just surviving in that world makes you learn business or living as a integral part of growing up.
Right.
And then, because of the education and the competition and everything, you continue to learn. Learning never stops.
Correct.
And therefore, you see why the Google CEO, he never went to business school. He went to IIT. Or Microsoft CEOs, he never went to business school. He went to IIT. And things like that, or education was high. And then they learn a lot on the job. Now, of course, today's world of finance, and in the US or in India, requires a training of the business schools and the MBAs on Wall Street or Dalal Street, and that's a way of creating wealth. But that's a different element of wealth creation.
Yes.
The most purposeful definition, if you asked Indian parents, was them to either make these younger populations, daughters or sons, didn't matter, into engineers or doctors. They didn't say that they would go on Wall Streets or things like that. But that is an evolution that happened. So our education system created priorities for engineers and doctors, and I was sort of chose myself to become an engineer.
Yeah, it's interesting. Again, just to when you think of like your country, you're right. I mean, there's a large population, over 1 billion people, population.
1.7 billion now.
Yeah, and in China, I think it's 2 billion.
Yeah, so it's a little. I think India is bigger population than China now.
Okay.
But somewhere.
And you're right. When you think of survival of the fittest, right, you have to really, if you understand that thought process. I mean, I can apply it to growing up as myself and growing up in the streets of Los Angeles, right? And whether it's education, whether it's street smarts, whether it's a version of just kind of being able to navigate through life.
So it's funny, and don't take this the wrong way, but I took one of the CEOs of a very highly successful company to visit India. And we went to Delhi on this train, and I wanted him to look at the glamour part of India. And then in one of these times off, he was, we were driving through the streets, and he could see masses of people. And he says, Sanjeev, it would be so difficult. This is like the millions of sperms, out of which one or two of them could create some possibilities.
Oof, yeah.
Right? I mean, that's the real world. Right?
Yeah.
And he hit it hard. Of course, we wouldn't think that way.
Yeah.
But entrepreneurship, that's the beauty, Mauricio, of entrepreneurship.
Yes.
I want to, of course, give you a little background, but the purpose, entrepreneurship to me, is that ability for any of those people in the world like that, whether it is in Mexico, whether it is in China, whether it is in India, it doesn't matter, is the only pathway to wealth creation
Absolutely.
that is agnostic to nationality, race, religion, sex, educations, languages, your social strata, or anywhere like that.
Yep.
You don't need, like any other profession, the training, the massive training that is required to become a lawyer or a doctor or an engineer, all of that. And I think that's one of the elements of the beauty of this space of creating what I call as quantum wealth.
Yes.
When you have jobs, you get wealth. I call it cash flow wealth. But the ability to have that kind of a tool. Now, 7% of the world's population today is entrepreneurial. So if we can create more such entrepreneurs through exchanges like this and opportunities, more of those firms can be created to life of betterment, and quality. And so that is why I see you, and I'm learning each day about you, is this radiance we have, because we probably have one of the tools to create the wealth pathway for others through the experiences that we have gone through.
Yeah.
So coming back therefore to myself, I went to a convent school, and then graduated in telecommunications and electronics in a city close by, which was Pune. It's a very high. It's not the IITs, but it was what I got to do. And from there, I went to Madison, Wisconsin, to do my master's in chip manufacturing. Right now, it's funny because when you are in that area, you really don't understand the difference between Madison and Stanford or Palo Alto. Some people do, but those of us who were not exposed to that kind of have no idea. So even though, I had an admission to go to Stanford, I didn't want to borrow money from my father to go to the school, or take as little as possible. So I got it from the government. But the point is that today I learned that if I were chosen to be in the valley, the pathway could have been even more enlightening than what my pathway through Madison, Wisconsin was. So I was one of the top, whatever you want to call it, a government of a guy who, the government gave me some money to come and educated here, thanks to the opportunity like that. So I worked about 3-4 jobs every day in the high school. I finished my bachelor's, in India, my master's here, did my research thesis. And then you come to the very normal thing. Now you've got the education, you have high qualifications because you studied very hard, but you come to a place where jobs are only available if you have visas. But as you know this story, then if you go to a job, they say, "Well, where's your damn visa?" You give shows a visa, you get a job. You go to the visa office. Oh, if you shows a job, we'll give you a visa. So the ping pong ball catch 22 is very difficult to get through. So I decided that I would just kind of take my chances. I bought a little broken down car and traveled from Madison, Wisconsin to California to see if there was any possibility. Otherwise, I would just go back home. What could you do?
Right.
Because we were never allowed to be interviewed on the campus. Not because I don't think it had anything to do with Indian or anything. It's just that we didn't have the visas. And so things have changed better, much better now. But so I think that allowed me to really understand how critical it is, not just to be educated, but to fit into this whole cultural space. So I found some Jewish guy who really didn't know anything about visas. So I sent him my job, my credentials, and he was impressed with the credentials. He called me for an interview. He delayed me. He thought I was just hanging there. I was living by the day here. So he called me for an interview, and he says, he says, the guy who left from here, worked for me for 40 years, knew everything. You are just a kid. So I said, now here is my opportunity, either the only one I could see. I said, Mr. Irwin, what do you pay your secretary? He says, I pay her $700 a month. I said, pay me that. If you don't like me, after a month, fire me, because I have the education. At least till you find somebody, you can afford a 1 or 2 month of a job. So he said, that's fair enough. A couple of weeks later, I joined the job, and it was amazing. Things worked out. So on my first birthday, he buys me a brand new car, So at that time, I learned more about what young entrepreneurs are all about, because, or what he was doing and how he lived. It's a small company, but, he was a terror. He was, that was my wrong exposure. But he was a terror, he would yell and he would scream, and that's, I thought, that's what you really need to be an entrepreneur, right? So that sort of embedded in me in the spirit of how to become an entrepreneur.
Right.
And
different style of leading.
Different kind of thinking processes and exposures. But,
it's a common thing. I mean, you hear that about Bill Gates. You hear that about Steve Jobs.
Yeah, there is no right or wrong. There is
It's
no
just a
right
different
or
form of
wrong. There is just a style of the stuff. And that's the first time really I realized the difference between a founder and an entrepreneur. A founder who's like who is a foundry. Foundry is to create something, right? So a founder really is the person who creates, who has an idea, who wants to build that idea into something real.
Yep.
An entrepreneur is that person who creates that founding idea into a business. So an entrepreneur is not necessarily always the founder.
Right.
But the founder can always become and transform himself into an entrepreneur.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, that's a great way to say it. I mean, I've noticed when you said that, I was thinking, I'm like, I've always been a founder and CEO, and entrepreneurial spirit has always been in me since I was a child. So, so I get to create, right?
Yeah.
Get to create my ideas, and then I get to execute them.
Yeah,
so.
in your book, you told me, you write that that you went to a place, you wanted to release in San Jose, You thought you would go around. You got up in the morning. You put this damn tie and everything on, and you walk around, and you think that this place is going to be busy. And there was this one guy that was there, and you said, you wanted to lease his place to
Oh, yeah.
convert that into this beautiful
Yeah.
bar and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And you said, "Well, I have not too much money," but there you were a founder.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it
you
was
were a founder.
that was my first nightclub.
First nightclub,
Yeah,
yes,
it was my
yes.
first on my own.
Yes,
I
yes.
remember that. His name was Walt Hoffler.
Well, yes.
And I walked in and I shared. What I did was I became friends with him first. I listened to his stories. I mean, the guy was full of. I mean, he was an older gentleman, self-made billionaire.
Yeah.
He owned railroad tracks. He owned real estate. I mean, he was in the banking world, and I just listened. And that's one thing that I learned as a young entrepreneur, that the more you listen, the more you learn, right?
Well, absolutely.
And I never pretended I was Mr. Know-It-All or knew, because I knew that I wasn't. Education for me was not a big factor. I tell people my story. I mean, I barely graduated high school just because, again, education was not a big part of my structure.
Oh, you didn't have that family.
I didn't have that family, no.
Cohesion to make that happen.
I had a single mom who was more focused on putting food on the table and making sure that we had, the basics, the necessities. Yeah. And
that also were changing, because you would have to change your house. You had to move to your cousins and your uncles.
I moved so many places, and then education for me was very tough because I never had that consistency, right? So even writing my book, I was never a reader, but I wrote a book, and it's not maybe not as a long book, but it's something that I challenged myself, and I completed that task or that goal or that dream. But going back to, I mean, I went through, and when I went to San Jose State, I did 4 years of college, and on my last year, my graduating year, I dropped out of school, but because I knew what I wanted to do. The only time that I ever regretted that was in 2008, when the economic downturn of real estate, the stocks, and the whole world just went upside down. I remember I was like, man, I need to get a job. And that, even saying that, hurt my stomach. I was like, a job? I've never had a job in my life. I've always been a creator of jobs.
Right.
And when I went to interview, I remember that I put where it says schooling. I said, yeah, San Jose State, but I didn't say graduate. I just said San Jose State. And
attended,
right? And it said years. I put 4 years, right? I did, but I didn't say graduate because I wasn't lying. I did 4 years.
Yeah.
And then when they asked me if I graduated, and after going through all of the qualifications, I was very qualified for the position. Actually, as a matter of fact, he said I was overqualified, but because I didn't have the paperwork, they couldn't process me because they were depending on that certificate, the degree. And that was the only time that I've ever looked back in my life and regretted that decision. But I got so over it, because what that did for me was it just reminded me of who I am and what I can do in my capacity, of what I can do. And it gave me the fuel to just launch off and go create something else.
Well, think differently. It makes you think differently.
100%. Because I'm in control of my time, my destiny. If I want to, go to work, I go to work. If I don't, but I'm in control, right? And I think that if anything, that's what, to me, part of entrepreneurship is freedom. Yes. We get to have that choice of being free versus being told you're going to work here 9 to 5 or a set time behind the desk, or do a task where I'm trading time for money, and to me, again, at a very young age, I got to experience success and high levels of making money at a young age. So going back to the story with Walt, I remember after listening to him, I told him about my big dream and how, I shared with him this vision, and he saw it because he was also a self-made entrepreneur. He also we had some common grounds. He didn't finish school, and yet he was very successful. Right. So he understood, and I remember I tore up the place with having no money. And he got a little nervous, but when I finished the project, he was very proud.
Yes.
And that was on a handshake.
Yes.
I got that deal, and that was where I tell people that was my first $1 million. It was actually more than $1 million, but I used $1 million. It was my first $1 million deal for myself that made me a millionaire at 25, and I said, boom, that was my launch pad.
Right.
And from that point on, I think that the part of it was just, not being afraid.
Yes.
I don't have fear.
Well, I wouldn't call it being ignorant.
Yeah.
Right? Because a part of not being afraid comes because just being ignorant. Right?
Yeah.
If you knew, see, you fear itself, right?
Yeah.
You have to fear itself. But if we don't know, which is the gift of, then you create that stuff, and your first success made you more the feeling of the independence made you more fearless.
Yeah.
The survival made you more fearless, and this naturally came to you. But that is a part of entrepreneurial spirit is.
Yeah.
It's not daunting of what could happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, sometimes it's daunting. It's it can get scary sometimes. But
Yes, no, it could get scary in the execution.
Right.
But when you guess you're set to it, otherwise, you see, every person who sits on a pod gets an idea. Right? Oh, I should open a restaurant. Oh, I should do this. Think about if 1 million people sat on the pod, less than 1,000 people, maybe 400, 500 people will do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I tracked the journey in the book called "What Not to Do in Entrepreneurship,"
Yeah. By the way, that's the book you probably. Is this your second book?
this is my first.
Your first book, okay.
And the second book is "The Father of Nations." But this journey, we'll come to the book, and I know that I distracted you from also my journey, but we want to integrate your journey and my journey together, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
See, I think that the number one thing entrepreneur people think is they should have done that. What really is the true gift of our life, Mauricio, you and I, is tomorrow, life is unpredictable. Something could happen,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But you and I would never say, I wish I could have done that.
Oh no.
Right.
Yeah.
Because what we wished, we did. We may not have succeeded in everything we wished we did, and we did.
Oh yeah.
We learned how to choose a little better, not perfect, just a little better. But once we chose, and once today, life is about 20 seconds. You're on a flight. Flight is coming down. You have 20 seconds to say, thank you, God. I have done everything I can. I've lived the best of life I could, and life is over. Right? So it means that we can't have an entrepreneurship, the passion of entrepreneurship allows you to reach to that stage every day of your life.
Yeah.
Right? And so the reason you do different things or I do different things is because we want to leave this world without saying, I wish I could have done that.
Yeah. My grandmother instilled that at a very young age. She told me, do everything and learn as much as you can and do everything. And meaning learn means try and just learn about everything.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be formal education, but just learn and do everything. She goes, you don't want to die wishing that you could have done it.
You could have done this, yes.
So for me, that's part of like the no fear is, people have said, well, how'd you raise the money for for this project? Honestly, I don't know, but I did.
Yes.
I did, and that's when I reached to that point, it built a self-confidence in me that allowed me to then say, what's next? How do I get to the next level? Right. And the next level I knew that it cost, but I just knew that I learned from here. How do I get to here? And the only way that I got to the next level was by trying, and along the way, I just learned and I did it. I had an entrepreneur that was here on the show one time. She did cigars, and that was her entrepreneurial business that she got into. But she did a bunch of other things, and she said something to me that I use now. She says, I basically jumped off the cliff and built the plane on the way down.
Yep.
And that's the mindset. I was like, oh, that's beautiful. I'm going to use that. So basically, it's what I did. Is I jumped off the cliff, and on the way down, I built the plane.
Yes.
And sometimes it got pretty close right to the ground, but
Right.
but I always found a way
Right.
to take off.
But you see, I want to add something here, which is very interesting. You said, you went some way or the other, you got what you wanted. It's not that way, Mauricio. People read the passion in you, the fire that you had in you, the provoking thought that you were sharing with them, that came from a space of passion. Yes, I can make that happen. Creates the difference.
Gets me in trouble sometimes.
Well, it of course it gets it sometimes, but the point
But good
is,
trouble, good trouble.
yes. But the point is, that's what that energy that one radiates in entrepreneurship, that confidence. I've raised $500, $700 million in my ventures, right? A guy coming from India doesn't know how to, count $1 million, but it allows you look at the world, you say this is what it is, and there are some funny stories. So when I started my first venture, I know we are all over the place here, but
it's okay.
the journey is a part where it is. It's difficult. I went to I was I worked for a company. Let me fill this gap up in between, and then you can see. So after my graduation, and I worked for a company with this guy, and then he happened to sell where I worked. He happened to sell it to the French government. It was in the solar business. So for me, solar was what I know about solar up and down like the back of my hand. And we were doing small things in solar, but he was able to sell that portion of it to French government to create company General Electric, which was the General Electric of France. And then I felt now that this has become a big company, and so all the corporate rules started coming in.
Yeah.
So then I moved into a company which was making solar equipment to make solar cells and panels. And there was another small company. Look at the journey, how the divine takes you, From one small company that just started in the solar, I was into this space that created equipment to make solar panels. And this was a 20-plus year company in Bedford, Massachusetts. And their biggest export was one town next door, And it was more like an institute of technology rather than a business. So I felt that this solar, because I had the training in this manufacturing side, that these solar plants could be sold all over the world. Because who wouldn't want solar everywhere there is sun,
Right.
And so today solar is one of the biggest businesses. I'm talking about when it was less than a penny as compared to $1 million. That's the size of the difference when I'm talking about 1982, 84 time frame, right? So this solar company, then when they wanted to work about this entrepreneur, East Coast minded entrepreneur, very conservative. And so I told him that, we should sell these plants to production plants rather than trying to peddle this research and development equipment.
Yeah.
I mean, this concept was so vibrant or so, new to them. So they said, okay, well, we'll try one place to sell. So they gathered all their 50 employees in a lunchroom and they asked me to talk why I was going to do this, right? So we decided we'll go to Germany because Germany was on the evolving side of it. So we went and sold the first production plant to Germany. Within a matter of 10, 15 days, he got his first big check of the sale. He was surprised that this character can go, to this place and sell. Within the next 18 months, we sold nearly 25 different plants all over the world, right? So this 20-year-old company then became public. And in a matter of 18 months thereafter, this company was public, very successful. Of course, the founder of the company had 1 million shares and I had 500 shares, right? But then it made me realize that entrepreneurship is just not about making products.
Right.
Entrepreneurship is also about creating wealth.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
And entrepreneurship is an instrument to creating wealth.
Yeah.
But if done properly, you can also not have this haves and have nots. We can use entrepreneurship to create more haves out of have nots.
Yeah.
And so, with that in mind, then I started my first company.
Yeah.
And
that's kind of what that was the motivator for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
The motivator for me was I wanted to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to be a millionaire from as a kid. And when I became a millionaire at a young age, then I got to see and taste life at a differently. I didn't have to worry about, I can go buy whatever I want. I can enjoy my life and not worry, right? That worry is gone, right? The fear of not having is gone, right? The have and have nots. And, but at the same time, that can as you're growing, if you don't have balance, that can also take you down another path, right? And for me, all I knew was success until into 2008 when the world went upside down. It wasn't because I didn't know how to make money. I knew how to make money. Something happens in that path that creates this blip, right, or this occurrence, and if you're not prepared for that, then that's where you have to that's where it tests your skills, and I think that's really where I got to the taste of like, oh shit, this is I only knew how to make money and I didn't know how to save it. That was the other part. So I knew how to make it and spend it, and I thought it was forever.
Oh, you thought like everybody else, the momentum creates more wealth together.
That's right.
It's the word that everybody uses, momentum of wealth.
Yeah, just get let's
right.
go.
The more you create, the more you get.
Create the energy, create the opportunity, create, push. Right. And no, when life hits and when situations are real and the impact globally, it has an effect, an impact, right? So, and if you're not prepared for those, then you will fall into that experience.
Right. So I just want to sort of interpret what you're saying slightly differently. Right? In the world, there are only 4 types of transactions. Take, give, take, give, and give. The entire world can be summarized in those transactions. Well, take is a useless transaction because it's a non-starter. Two taking people, who is going to give? So the startable transactions are the give-take or the take-give. But those are startable, but they are not sustainable because the giver gets tired at some point in time. Right?
Yeah.
Right. So the best we can create in the world is a give space. Now, give doesn't mean you give me dollars and I give you dollars. I give my dog food, he gives me lots of licks. It's a give space.
Right. Yeah.
So entrepreneurship is that pathway to wealth creation where you can create a give space.
Gotcha.
Right? And if we can create more entrepreneurs, then we would have created a world that lives in more of abundance.
Yes. Right. Yes, I can definitely relate to all of that. Yeah.
And one of the reasons I wrote this book is because today, after 4 years, only 3 to 4% of the entrepreneurial ventures succeed.
That's true.
Through your knowledge, like you shared in the book, or through some of the things that I outline in the book, If we can move that needle that is stuck in the mud at 3.5%, and I'll tell you the reason why also, then if you shift it by 1, 2, 3%, just look at the amount of wealth that we can create
Yeah.
in a global space by enabling them to have the tools to succeed
That's right.
and therefore transform the world into a give space of abundance, right?
Yeah.
And so one part of this creating entrepreneurial pathways, every entrepreneur thinks, which you did too, like I did in my young age, right, that your entrepreneurship journey is unique. Nobody else has what it takes. And it could be true, nobody has what it takes to do what you do. But the challenge is not that. The pathway to success has most failures in the entrepreneurial journey happen. More than 70 to 80% is because they find a solution that is looking for a problem. Right. So now you are swimming up the Niagara, right? Because you have a solution. Where is the problem? Then the other 15, 20% do not fail, they fail or do not succeed, is because they underestimate the cost that it takes to create what they want to create.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not a journey. If we can create this art of entrepreneurial success into a science of predictable wealth creation process by learning from each other, learning together through conversations like this, we can create and enable more entrepreneurial success and therefore help a world become richer, not by taking from the haves to give to the have-nots, but creating haves out of the have-nots. And that is one of the reasons why I love what I do in this entrepreneur. And the reason I wrote the book is because essentially you and I can help transform entrepreneurial success on a massive scale
Yes.
by learning from each other.
Yeah. And that's why I like to surround myself with other successful entrepreneurs or even up and coming, right? At the same time, I have to put a value on my time because time is our most valuable, asset. So I surround myself by people that are smarter than me or that have other resources so that I can learn and gravitate. And then I come back and I'll share with others that are wanting to follow suit or, they want to be a part of the team. And then we all learn from each other, right? And that's part of the reason why I've always loved being a part of where I'm doing personal growth. I put myself around environments like that. You remind me of Deepak. I love Deepak Chopra. The tone and the way that you're describing things, it's very calming and it reminds me and it allows me to reflect to some of those moments where, in business can get very intense, and you have to learn to breathe, calm down, and then kind of look back and assess the situation that you're in order to navigate, right? Because if you just go, and you're in that hamster wheel,
Yes.
You'll get caught up in that, and that's what happened to me, right? The first time that I felt what failure was. And I remember that when I lost everything, I lost everything, my home, my cars, just everything. But I realized that I may have lost everything, but I didn't lose this.
Yes.
I didn't lose my mind, thank God, either, because I had a strong will that if I did it once, I can do it again.
Yes. It's called the power to connect.
Yeah.
Right? You had the ability to connect the levels of opportunities.
Yes.
See, on the radar, there are lots of opportunities. One of the things that I just want to go back and share with you, it's not about time waste, right? It is how you meterize your time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Every time value that is created can be metered. If you're aware of creating that meter. Most of us do not really realize that if it has value, it can be metered. Otherwise, it has no value, right? So, somebody was not going to give you something. Now, the value may not be instantaneous, but the value is there.
Yeah. Just gotta
So-
learn to be patient.
Right. No, you got to engage in the value creation process. Right?
Correct. Yes.
Right. So, for example, how do these entrepreneurial venture companies make money? They give you some advice. They take a percentage of that small equity.
Yeah.
Now, an entrepreneur is nuts to think, oh, why should I give him my equity? No, he's allowing you to create value.
Right.
Right? If Facebook did not have the guy who gave them the first $100,000, Facebook would never have happened.
Yeah.
Zuckerberg would have stayed in the damn university chasing girls there, through his program, right?
Yeah.
But Peter Thiel gave him that $100,000 because he could see through the process.
Yes.
Now, and that took secretary, it made Mark 10 times richer. Again, metering,
Yeah.
right? Peter metered his wealth.
You when you mentioned that, I'm going through a deal right now. Interestingly enough, the deal's it's a significant amount, about a little north of 30 million. And the partner this morning asked me, "How do you want to break up the partnership?" My first instinct, right, as an entrepreneur, because I always want to eliminate the egos right off the bat. There's 4 of us. I said, well, if we equally, if we split it up equally, there's no issues. So I said, but if you have any and then this is when I throw it back. But if you have any suggestions, I'm open to
Listen,
it.
yeah.
One why is because I also know the value of what people bring to the table. But I want to always start from a neutral playing ground. So I said, I threw it out equal. I said, and I know that this person is bringing in the finances, the backing that we need for this project. And she, a very smart woman, she, in a few minutes, responds and she says, how about this? We'll go 50-50, and then you split it amongst your team, the other 50%. And I said, fair enough. Yeah. No resistance, right? No resistance, because without that opportunity, we don't get to create.
Correct.
So then and she says, I need this document and send it to me so that I can continue to evaluate. So I sent her the document, and about 30 minutes later, I got a new version of percentage. She says, how about this? We're going to go 70% and you're going to keep 30%. And I still said, no problem. Because I'm looking at the long run, right? Because right behind that 30 million, I have about another 4 or 5 other projects that we're going to need to get the type of funding that we're going to need. And I always remembered, one of the things that I learned from one of my mentors is percentages just means liability in a project. As long as you still write in your agreements that, hey, Mark Zuckerberg doesn't own 100% of Facebook. He owns like 6-7%, yet he's the controlling voice of the group. So I understand that it just means the financial parts, the benefits, right? And also the responsibilities. And I said, no problem, right? Now I know that once I propose that to the team, there'll be some opposition, but I have to then be the smart businessman and say, hey, this is why, because if somebody's going to write this check, we need to accept, and we don't have to, but it would be wise.
Yeah. So can I interpret this differently?
Please,
the same story in a different way?
Please.
See, you metered value in this, right? First of all, you shared some background of fairness, right? Because every transaction we want it to be fair, right? And fair doesn't mean one wins and the other loses.
That's right.
That's not a fair. Now, people say, in any transaction, both people have to be unhappy to feel that it is a successful transaction, right?
Absolutely, 100%. If you both leave at the table both pissed off,
Yeah,
that was a good deal.
Yeah,
That was a good
Right,
deal.
right.
But you got what you everyone. Yeah.
So it's always the case, right?
Yes.
Yes, I agree to that thought process, right? But in negotiations, there is one thing that never loses. Mauricio, I always want to be fair in a discussion. If you bring fairness, right, then it all comes to a very normal level of discussion. Now, fairness interpreted is different, right? Look at what happened. I'm taking your example. At 50-50, you thought it was fair. She went back. She said, how can that be fair? That cannot be fair because she's putting 70% of the work. I'm just making shit up here. Otherwise, she wouldn't
Well,
have.
no, she's putting 100% of the capital.
Okay, so
Let's just
capital,
say she's
right,
giving
okay.
it. Give.
Right.
The,
She's taking all the risk,
Yeah.
as you could say.
yeah.
I mean, typically the 80-20 rule applies.
Yeah.
If you put all the capital, you
Yeah.
get 80%
Yeah.
and 20% for the people. It's a normal leverage buyout rule all the time.
Yep.
Right?
80-20 rule.
80-20 rule applies.
Yeah.
Here, hey, I'm taking all the risk. But she felt it was fair at 70-30.
Yeah. I think she was being fair because she knew that there was three of us on the other
Yeah,
side.
so that's okay, right?
Yeah.
But she was fair.
Yes.
Now, how you looked at fairness is much different. You said, if I get this transaction done, it would add a feather in my cap of doing a $30 million transaction.
That's right.
That would allow me to meterize my credibility
Yes.
better.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Yes. Yes. Without saying it, I've thought it, but you're translating. Yes,
Yeah,
I love it. Yes.
That's what the meter was.
Yes.
So subconsciously,
That's right.
you metered this.
Yes.
And that's how you would justify to your partners, look, guys, she took the risk, but look at what we get to be affiliated
That's right.
with the larger party so that the next transaction, you can say to her, look, it's going to be 40-60 upfront. No more. Fairness is defined.
That's right.
And so I always would like to encourage everybody who is an entrepreneur to meter their value.
That's right.
Right? Because if you don't meter your value, you're not putting value, then you say, oh, well, he could have done that and he could have done that. Should have, would have, don't count in entrepreneurship.
Yeah, those are stories. Right. Yeah.
So that's the part of the conversation. And I'm sure you've done that several times in your book, in this Smoke and Mirror. I think it's a lot of learning one can get from the book.
Yeah. No, thank you. And I can't wait till I do the movie. I left a lot for the imagination. So
Yes.
the journey has been an amazing journey, and that's why I wanted to document it. Not too many people can say that they've written a book. Just like the podcast, I think that this is my way of being able to bring on other entrepreneurs, other people that have great stories to share, and use it so that it becomes something that we get to share and share with others.
Right.
And it's our way of giving. Right? We get to give to the universe and see somebody's watching. And somebody's learning and somebody's getting something out of this.
The other aspect of it is I tell all entrepreneurs every time, right? Everybody forgets the golden rule of business. The golden rule of business is the man with the gold, or the person, not man, woman, the person with the gold rules, right?
Yeah. No, I say the person with the purse rules.
Same
the check
thing.
writer
Yeah,
rules.
rules,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. Always.
But intelligent entrepreneurs, and I want to bring the case of Zuckerberg here, right? See, California law is very open to entrepreneurship. Although he owns maybe 7-10% of the venture, the law that he has gives every vote of his 40-50 times the voting right.
That's right.
So, what you are bringing out, which I want to sort of share with the listeners, is you don't need to control equity.
That's right.
You need to control the voting rights in the company.
That's right. That's why I stay quiet. I don't feel that I've gotten crippled.
Yep.
The other part too is that when you are if you are a less shareholder or less percentage, there's a salary that's being paid or allocated to the working partner. And if I am the working CEO of the group, then I can either take it or I can convert it into shares, and then later on the exit strategy. And again, that's why I think of it, long term. I don't think of people that are focused on now, short term, are only one deal at a time. I'm looking at 10 deals at a time because I'm thinking long term. I want to build mega wealth. I've shared with you the goal from the pinnacles that I've hit, from building my $100 million company to tasting what a $1 billion potential company could have been. Seeing it, touching it, filling out papers, there's nothing like signing paperwork and thinking like, wow, this is really happening. That there's something that it does to you, and you can never let that feeling go. That feeling never goes away.
Yeah. No. I want to add to that.
Yeah.
Right? It's a different way of looking at it. God bestows through the legal system, an amazing power in the entrepreneur. Right? An entrepreneur can create wealth. Now, let me tell you, the wealth, of course, by working hard, selling products is one thing. Mauricio, every company in the world has two products. One is the product by which a transaction is created. If you make something to sell on the street, that's a product you create. If you sell your software, it's a product you create. If you make a Tesla car, it's a product you create.
Right.
And then there is what is called as the enterprise value of a company. And 98% of the entrepreneurs truly forget that the wealth creation process lies in the enterprise value. The product value gives you your cash flow, your salaries, and things like that. Of course, sometimes like Tesla today makes a product, but the enterprise value is far greater than all automotive companies put together. Why? Because Elon Musk has created this perception that his products are going to create so much ultimate wealth in the enterprise value.
Right.
So we as entrepreneurs, I seek of all entrepreneurs not to ever forget that if you want to capitalize, because the only purpose of a business is to make money.
That's it.
Being busy is not being in business. The only purpose of business has to be to make money.
That's it.
Because, you can be busy. Oh, I'm busy. Oh, good for you. The ant is damn busy. It's not creating nothing.
Right.
Transactions.
Running in place is not productivity.
Right. Transactions create value. Transaction create business. Transaction create cash flow.
That's right.
And I seek of all entrepreneurs to also not forget the other product, which is the enterprise value. How do I create wealth out of the product in my enterprise? Because that's how everybody is making money on their shares. Right? Look at all the people that are in the AI. The products are not making money. The perception of value of the enterprise is making money.
That's right.
And at some point in time, they have to match, otherwise, you get a bubble.
That's right.
But we, as we said, always must meter not only the value of the product or time, but also the value of the enterprise. And an entrepreneur cannot forget, even if it's a restaurant,
Yeah.
the restaurant is one service. But how do you sell the restaurant? How do you create liquidity out of that restaurant? How do you create perception of value for that restaurant? Is as important as being in the business of making a product.
When I listen to what you're saying, it always reminds me. Well, it reminds me of quantum thinking.
Yes.
So I've had many conversations with other entrepreneurs, and they're like, Mauricio, how did you do that? And I said, I don't know. They're like, well, and one guy says, no, you do. You already do. It's you're quantum thinking. You've thought it already long term in part of your processing. Correct. You've already thought of, I'm not just doing this because I want to do one. I want to do this because I want to do 40 or 100 of these. Scalability. Yeah. Right. So, I love having those quantum kind of conversations because my mind just starts to, it's fuel for my mind.
Yeah. See, but my two first time, second time entrepreneurs, I have a different thought. You have the ability to be diversified because you have a solid base of learning and connect the dots. First time entrepreneur, if they don't focus, the probability of success reduces with the defocus. When you did that night bar, you were doing that night bar day in and day out. You write it in the book. Right?
Yeah.
You didn't think of anything else.
Nothing.
And that's the focus that is required.
Yes.
Once you get to a level where you have the ability and the knowledge, then one can diversify or help others diversify. Again, meter yourself.
Well, with that said, what happened in that experience was that I put all my eggs in one basket.
Yes.
I was doing real estate and I was doing nightlife. So, and I put all my eggs in two baskets, and I thought that was going to be like the ultimate goal. And no one would have expected one or both to fall at the same time because they both did. Once the economy took a dive, it actually both went because the disposable income of people wasn't there. Mm-hmm. So I learned my lesson very, very quickly to never do that again. So kind of like almost like PTSD in entrepreneurship, right? So what I said moving forward is that I'm going to have multiple lanes. I'm going to have my main business. I'm going to have my second, I have my one that keeps cash flow, then my long-term that creates wealth, and then if I want to have other little, other projects that add value to what I do. So like my books, my podcasts, anything that continues to add value to the wheelhouse.
Yeah, no, I agree, but my only request to first-time entrepreneurs.
First-time entrepreneurs, yes.
You've got to focus.
100%.
100%.
100%.
Right.
100%.
Because you cannot have a thin, long wall.
No.
It's easy to penetrate.
Oh, yeah.
You should have a solid wall in a space where you can go attack. The other thing that I want to kind of share with you for entrepreneurial minds is there is no business without a customer. So if an entrepreneur thinks of any idea that he thinks is great or she thinks it's great, but the first thing has got to be done, who is the damn customer?
That's right.
Right? A customer is some person who pays for your ideas.
Right.
If he doesn't pay, there is no transaction. You and I can talk forever. Nobody's paying here. Yeah. Therefore, and of course, we'll make sure we'll capitalize on this. But that's not what business is. Right. A business is an exchange of value that the customer pays you, for which you deliver value to him through your product and service, right?
Or problem solve, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the things that
number one thing is get the damn customer first.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the entrepreneurs think that if they invent, they will come.
Yeah, no.
They don't.
That is an illusion. So I know that one of the things we talked about was I know that you're working on building this ambassadorship program for entrepreneurs. Share a little bit about that, and when does that when is that going to roll out here in Silicon Valley? And I definitely want to be a part of that.
No, you are.
Yeah.
You cannot. You don't have a choice. Well, we
Well,
have to bring.
I want to be a part of it because I also want to also be able to share with them, for example, our studio, right? I want to be able
Yes.
to bring these entrepreneurs and show them
Yes.
the importance now, the relevance of, being in business also means they have to have a social media or a social platform or a some kind of following. They have to, because not only it's not about a product, but it's also relevance now, right? It's not like the old days where you advertise on TV, radio, or it doesn't work that way anymore. You have to have some kind of something that's that can validate your business or what you do as a brand too, because we're all brands as well. So, that's where I see the other value of like creating this ambassadorship, because we have to start teaching these next generation of entrepreneurs.
Right.
So
No, I think our mission in life has to be enable more entrepreneurial success.
yes,
And so Silicon Valley Ambassador is the next version of the Capital Club. And Gene Campbell and his girlfriend Jen, they started this thing at the Corinthium.
okay,
And the Corinthium is an incredibly beautiful infrastructure platform for entertainment, for spiritual work, for physical fitness, including pools and golfs and stuff, playing like that.
yeah,
A part of the things that Gene wanted to do is also to bring the younger generation.
right,
Because historically, Silicon Valley Capital Club has been a place for the mature generation to go. So, and obviously, if we have to meter something again,
right,
then you need to bring some level of. He wanted to do a WeWork kind of space there.
yeah,
But there are so many WeWork spaces, right? So what's the uniqueness that you can create?
right,
Because if there isn't any uniqueness, now you are just swimming up the Niagara against the competition.
that's right,
Everything I do in life has to swim down the river, because my energy will then take me farther and better there.
correct,
And so in that case, you just have to leave the ego aside and let it flow. Because entrepreneurs think in general that if they don't they don't recognize, they don't go through the pain, that they are not going to become the true entrepreneurs. But
Right.
an intelligent entrepreneur creates wealth,
Right.
not just go through the pain at the same time.
right. It's got to be worth it.
It's got to be worth it, right?
Yeah.
So Gene and I sat and I said, rather than just doing a WeWork, why don't we create a space
Yeah.
where we can bring the ability, the connectivity of Silicon Valley ambassadors, which is the family offices, the high net worth individuals who can bring capital.
Right.
In addition to that, bring mentorship.
Yep.
Whether it is within the ambassador club or outside, we can bring mentorship to it. We can bring an ability for an entrepreneur to look at the entertainment side of it, to expand his network,
Yes.
his or her network. And so, in order not to confuse the word between the Silicon Valley ambassadors, we call this sort of the entrepreneurial element is called the collaboratory.
Okay.
So that the collaboratory is where it's all about collaboration, laboratory to create success for entrepreneurship.
Nice.
So that you can, obviously they can come here, talk about theirs, but we would enable them to get access to family offices, to capital, to put their business plans more precisely together, because they have people like you and I and others who would like them to succeed. And all of this should not ever come free, because value doesn't come free.
Absolutely.
So,
you
they
gotta
can
pay
share
for
a
it.
pay for the fees or pay for whatever it is.
You gotta be
and
invested.
if you cannot share, because remember one thing, none of us are going to take a penny or billions of dollars upstairs, right?
Yeah.
So we've got to use our wealth creation to create more abundance in this place. So yes, there will be we will choose about 25 sort of entrepreneurs, men, women, old age, does not really matter, who are driven, who have an idea or who have a business, that we can help them guide to success through the use of mentorship, through the use of capital, by being a member at the collaboratory.
Perfect.
And that's what we are driving. And your tool of propagation media or promotion media or awareness media is a powerful element of that collaboratory. Therefore, you are stuck being a part of that element.
Well, it's going to be an honor, and I look forward to bringing on other entrepreneurs here and being able to share with them the opportunity that they can also create what we've created, and they can be the next generation of that. So I'm looking forward to that. Is there a time frame on when that's?
So the Silicon Valley Ambassadors is currently scheduled to be launched by October.
Okay.
I think that once that is in place, then our goal is to have the collaboratory membership qualified and everything by the end of the year.
Perfect.
So that we can at least host 20 to 25 members initially. Because we don't want it to be 100. We got to deliver results.
Right.
And so by keeping a number small and pre-qualified, we want passionate entrepreneurs. We don't mind the challenging journey. We can address the challenges, but there has to be a vision of success to this thing. And that's our purpose at the collaboratory.
Well, our goal will be there is where we start to, not only teach them about raising capital. It's funny when you say family office. I remember the first time I ever heard the term family office. I was like a family office? Like, people don't understand. A family office is actually a financial group.
Actually, it's funny. I ran the Silicon Valley Family Office Network just so that I could learn everything about it.
Yeah.
So people think that family office means Mark Zuckerberg has a room basement at his house, and he goes and
they have a family office.
But that is a misconception.
Right.
A family office is an officially outsourced agency.
Correct.
That can either be completely working for one unit, it's called a single family office, or they may represent multiple families that are rich and wealthy, whose primary purpose is to protect and preserve their wealth.
Right.
Take care of their expenses, bills, all of that stuff. A family office does that. A typical family worth over $200+ million can afford a family office, single family office.
Correct.
Otherwise, they use what is called as a multi. So they are essentially financial advisors, but they are much more than financial advisors. It's because they are managing their bills, their all of that. So if one has to go raise money from Mark Zuckerberg, the ideal thing I suggest would not go to the damn family office, find a way to connect with him. Of course, I'm not using Mark as a patriarch or the matriarch, because family offices in general are so concerned about preserving wealth.
Right.
They only allocate 1 to 2% of their wealth for new ventures or new ideas. But high net worth individuals, which are worth between 10 and say 25 to $40 million, they take much bigger risks than family offices do. But there is a gradation of wealth when you want smaller amounts where you could go to. So when I say family offices, I mean the structure of family wealth.
No, I understand. No, just to educate the people that are out there that are wondering what's a family office. So
that is what. So you have high net worth HNIs, the high net worth individuals. Yeah. Then there are VHNIs, is very high net worth individuals. Then there are UHNIs, which is called ultra high net worth individuals. So between $0 to $50 million typically is high net worth individuals. Between 50 to 200 million is very high net worth. Above 200 to a billion is sort of ultra high net worth.
Yeah.
And above a billion, of course, billion doesn't mean anything nowadays, but it's the hugely high net worth. But those are really the big family offices. You know. So, but I think that entrepreneurs have different ways of tapping into capital.
Yeah.
Private wealth, this is under the category of private wealth, is one of the best sources of venture capital. Yes, it's a source of, but venture capital are playing with numbers game.
That's it.
They I mean, of course, you have to be knowing venture, and there are all kinds of criteria, and I've outlined in the book how to go to them. But venture capital is not a good source for capital if you don't know them before.
Oh yeah,
Right?
no.
Because going to
actually
100 venture capitalists to get one is such a waste of time. right?
Absolutely.
And the second is venture capitalist people truly are a numbers game. Even unless you are one of the best, or you may be having a company that's doing 5 and you're going to sell it at 20, but if it doesn't fit their portfolio, they'll say, I don't want it.
That's right.
Now, you as an entrepreneur have sweated day and night on the damn factory floor or on the computer to make something happen. And somebody is making a decision on the golf course that this does not really fit. So you have to be very careful with what. So there are 3 types of capital, just so that we can end up on a capital note here. There is called emotional capital. Emotional capital is I go to my grandmother, Grandma, I want to do this. Okay, Sonny, this is a good idea. There is no damn analysis, So it's emotional capital, angel capital, things, your family, investment money, or your uncle's money. Those are all emotional. An emotional decision is based. The other extreme of that is called cutthroat capital. So venture capital, private equity, they are all cutthroat.
Hard money.
You are just a number to
Yeah.
them. Oh, company number 110. They don't give a rat's ass about what the thing is. And then there is what is called as logical capital. Family office is a logical capital. Your corporate capital is typically a logical capital. Your banks and capital loans, those are they are very logical in their approach.
Right.
So those are the 3 spectrums of capital. And if this capital is the nerve of every business, of course, unless it's a pure service business.
Yeah.
If you are in the plumbing business and you want to expand, you don't need to raise capital for that.
No.
But if you are in the software development business, you have no choice but to kind of raise some capital.
If people want to find your book, where can they find your book?
So the book is available on Amazon.
Okay.
And it used to be on Books Inc. or something like that. But Amazon, the book is available. If you want a personal signed copy, just write to me at sanjeevalways@yahoo.com.
Okay.
And I will be happy to send you a personalized signed copy.
Do you have a website too for?
Yes, I have a website too.
Okay.
And it's called What Not to Do in Entrepreneurship. And there is a lot of these. Each chapter is summarized in a 2 to 3 minute video of each of those chapters. You can see that on the website too.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And this kind of podcast is truly valuable for that. So happy to do whatever. And it was such a privilege talking to you.
We didn't even get into some of the other businesses you're involved in, but we'll have to go and enjoy those, some other time.
Yes,
I want to come out to your wine. Try
Yes,
out your
please
wine.
do. Yes, please do.
And
Yes.
we'll talk about that maybe when we do a
Yeah,
wine.
we'll create a separate thing on the wine
a wine
business.
segment. Okay, so Sanjeev, they can find your book on what not to do
in entrepreneurship.
and that's the whole domain.
Yeah, what not to do in entrepreneurship.
We'll make sure to put that in our production, and then and if people want to reach out to you, your email again was
Sanjeev, Sanjeev, always. I'm always Sanjeev at yahoo.com.
Perfect. Well, we could go on for hours and hours. You trigger so many quantum points in my mind that I'm just like, I mean, when it goes into numbers and business, because I can understand and break them down.
Yeah.
And then I'm always thinking of growth. Right now I'm going through a transitional point where a lot of 2026 is going to be an amazing year. We're gonna wrap up 25 strong, and then next year just is going to be explosive.
That's great.
So.
It's building the value. That's why I loved your idea of the 70-30 thing. Hey, take it.
Yeah.
There's a bird in the hand is worth 10 in the damn bush.
I always tell people that some people can be a penny wise, pound foolish. One of my favorite quotes. But anyhow, I want to say thank you again for being here. Last 3 words of encouragement. What would you say to the entrepreneur that's coming out? 3 words. What would it be?
Be a visionary. Be fearless. and don't wait for things to happen.
There you go. Amen. Amen. All right. Thank you, Sanjeev,
Thank
for
you
being
so
here.
much. Such a privilege.
Today.
Such a privilege of life.
Once again, it's Mauricio Mejia live inside of Studio B, heart of Silicon Valley. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, comment, subscribe. Mauricio Mejia live on YouTube.